welcome to the racing room after what feels like an eternity since last week when I was sitting in a car park outside Listowel. There have been many a gamble landed and a European golfer insulted since, but we live on to tell the tales. I'm Ronan Groom, and with me are the three usuals, Tony Calvin, Harry Stewart Moore, and not yet 5 hours back off the plane from New York, Anthony Kaminskis. AK, how did you get on? Tell us all the tales from the Big Apple.
Yeah, it was really good. Really enjoyed it. Ryder Cups, I suppose. I've been to a couple of golf events before. I've always gone on the first 2 days. So you're just seeing constant action, and you have no problem seeing the action as well because you can follow. You can follow a good.
And because you're 6'4", yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it's the people behind you.
Yeah, you don't want to be going to a Ryder Cup.
I don't want to be going to Ryder.
No, yeah. But it was tough to see the action. To be honest with you, it was tough to see the action, but the atmosphere was really good. Getting into the course, I only went to the course on the Friday. Getting in was a palaver just because Trump was due to turn up at some stage. I think he turned up in the afternoon. So just getting through security and just the queues and everything was pretty tough. I was at the course for 16 hours on Friday, which was a long time. Done my 26,500 steps on Friday, and Bethpage is quite hilly for my legs anyway. So my legs are just still in bits at the moment, to be honest with you. Like, I'm just in absolute agony. But it was really good, really enjoyable. It probably didn't kick off atmosphere-wise with the insults too much until the Saturday, I suppose, when we went there. It wasn't too bad for, like, the Americans are just, like, they just can't do humour, can they, at all? Like, it's their insults and the chants are so primary school. Like, there's just there's no skill there at all. Like, I think we were saying it when we were there, we were just like, I think it's the football culture in England. I think that creative chanting is just part of that. And they just don't have it. They just don't have it. So, but the action was good. The atmosphere was good. Walking around was hard. One thing that was quite interesting about it was, and the tickets were unbelievably expensive. So you got it was a little bit of a different crowd when we were there on the Friday. It's like $750 for like a standard ticket.
Wow.
So like you're obviously cutting off access to a few people just pricing it that high. But one thing they did do, which I thought was interesting, or an interesting concept, was all the food and drink apart from alcohol was free. So they just had loads of stands everywhere that would just constantly, you could just walk up and pick up burgers, and the quality wasn't unbelievable, but you could literally just go around picking up food at various points. So I thought it was quite an interesting concept that I don't know if would travel to a big horse racing festivals in England, but it's something different anyway. It's just something I haven't experienced before. But yeah, it was really good, and bounced around New York for the weekend and eating well and drinking plenty, basically. Voice is just coming back, which is good. Yeah, and then I went to a Theo Von show on Saturday night where he literally had a breakdown on the stage. It was fairly uncomfortable viewing. But yeah, there was plenty going on. Plenty crammed into a couple of days. It was good.
Did you leave any old men at the entrance that didn't have the required money or card to get
wandering around with cash they didn't know what to do with? Yeah.
Did you laugh at him on the way out about
Gave him a poor quality free beef burger on the way out. Yeah.
Here's one I picked up 6 hours earlier.
Half a free cheeseburger, yeah.
Were you on it was the 18th, wasn't it, when Shane held his pad?
No, that was obviously on the Sunday. So
you didn't go on the Sunday. Sorry.
No, I only went on the Friday. It was really good, but just seeing shots was quite tough because everyone's especially on the Friday and the Saturday, everyone's congregated around 4 holes basically. And you're kind of going from the first to then you're trying to go to the 6th, then you're trying to go to the 13th. You're like covering good ground, and it was bloody hot as well. I don't know how they do it actually. Some of them like I was thinking caddies like doing 72 holes there, and Fleetwood's caddy and stuff, and like it's bloody hot and it was hilly, and it was tough getting around. I suppose they're quite fit, but it was tough going.
You're even moaning about the Ryder Cup, mate. Come on.
No, the result wasn't good for AK Bet's Top Price Europe, but it wasn't great. And then Listowel, obviously, Ronan, you were down there. What was that like for the last few days when I wasn't there?
naturally very different from the Ryder Cup, but interesting all the same. Working in a betting shop for me for the first time was interesting, and probably learned the what lots of people working in betting shops have known for a long time. It's very handwriting is the curse of the bane of their lives, I suppose, and what trying to read what people are writing and then translate it and fast. And just genuinely, I think you tweeted about AK as well. A newfound respect for people who work in busy betting shops on busy days, and I'm sure
It's
the
a
likes of
grind,
Gold
isn't
Cup
it?
Day and Grand National Day is an absolute um a huge ordeal for these people. So no, huge. I really enjoyed it. I have to say,
Yeah.
there's a real buzz to it, and it's panic stations, and you look up the start. You have the first race of Listowel, and you look back up about what feels like was an hour, and the whole day is done. It goes so fast because you're just so busy you can't even think. So
Yeah. I
some
heard the
interesting
accommodation
bets,
was good as well.
which is very good. Yeah, yeah, pool table and all. So we had a bit of crack there,
Look
and
after those boys, don't I, lads? Look after those
yeah,
boys.
It
all
tells you
very good.
how long I've been in the betting shop, or I haven't been in the betting shop. The settling, is that done automatically, or did you have some settlers there?
God no. Settling's done automatic, yeah, for sure. A
Is it?
computer will do that. Yeah. Geez, you won't be able to operate doing it manually with that the amount of bets that are
Yeah,
coming
that's what I
through.
was thinking. Yeah.
Wednesday when I was there, the last day I was there, we'd done 1,600 bets, I think. And it might even have been more than that. It was fairly full on. Like there's plenty of money flying around, and I put it up on Twitter. One of the lads it's just carnage. Like some fella handed one of the lads 100 quid and didn't even hand over a betting slip. Like it's just like literally, it's just you're dealing with all sorts. You're dealing with like you get the odd frustrated customer. Like we probably were slightly understaffed in my opinion. Like we've got quite a few learnings from it where we've got to improve for next year. It was a lot busier than we thought it was, and the lads were flat out and did a great job from what I could see. So, a few things to improve on for me next year, I think as well.
It's the other part of the job. Like, I mean, it's easy for me and the rest of the lads. We're day to day. We're looking at prices come through online, and you're dealing with that. You don't have to face up to the customer who's standing in front of you and whatever. And that's a completely different situation as well. So
Yeah,
definitely a newfound respect for all betting shop workers, especially on the busy days. But we'll kick on, gents, with the racing review. Tony Calvin, do you want to start us out?
Yeah, probably wouldn't shouldn't start here, but we will do. One of the big talking points on social media was after Kia's can't keep him down, can you? Kia's £4.3 million October 2024 purchase poker only finished 6 of 9 on debut at Haydock on Friday. Yeah, the winner cost 900 grand, but the fourth cost 34 grand, and the horse right in front of poker only cost 9 grand. So a lot of comment about that, and surely it's a massive wake up call, isn't it, to the ammo racing team for this kind of thing to happen. 4.3 million, and there would have been added costs to that as well. I mean, did you have a take on that, Ronan?
Yeah, I mean, I just went back and looked. So poker, the source was bought at the book one of the Saratoga Yearling sale, which is basically the biggest sale for yearlings in Europe. And I just, if you just, because people are fascinated by this stuff, the type of prices that go out. So I just had a look at the top 10 or so sales. 31 over just over 31 million spent on the top 12 sales. No wins yet from any of those horses. Five of them have been named, so the rest of them haven't been named yet. So basically, not even close to running yet. And it's just astonishing when you kind of think that these are the most expensive horses and the most, like what I say about Kia is, and Ammo in general, what they're buying, there's always going to be an underbidder on their horses. They're
Mm.
competing with other people, like they're competing with Godolphin, with Coolmore, Ballydoyle, with other big players in the game. So obviously they're going that one step further to buy these colts and fillies, but it's wild when you kind of put it all together. Like a lot of these horses that you spend six figures on, and they haven't even been named yet. So they're not
mm,
even close to running. Then this is what we're in now, coming into October. Not going to run this year as 2 year olds, which is primarily probably one of the big reasons why they have been bought in the first place. But it's wild when you kind of look back at it now and retrospectively.
Yeah, it's
It is crazy, isn't it? Like it's a high stakes game. I think just regarding Kia, everyone getting a turn out of it should just enjoy it while it lasts and then move on.
yeah.
As I saw
I
Chris.
don't think international investment funds who lend at 10% tend to take that view on
It's
on these things.
I saw Chris Poole tweeted actually what I was thinking, but didn't get a chance to tweet. And it said Polka finishes 6th of 9th, 4.3 million, and then his quote tweet just said 2-7 off suit. Which is quite good.
Yeah, a lot of wags were making jokes about, won't see him at stud poker and all that rubbish.
Yeah.
The figure. I mean, like, we single out Kira every single week, but he's not the first, and he won't be the last to actually blow absolute fortunes on what seems to be duds at the moment. But yeah, it's a long way
No,
to
but
go.
I do think the weird element of it is that they appear to be approaching this like a kind of Moneyball style. We're going to come in, borrow money and make money, and yet they're buying at the very top of the market. That just seems the strangest bit.
That's quite the insult of the old Moneyball concept there.
I did say trying.
Yeah, trying.
More like a Roman Abramovich style, isn't it? Just buy everything you can at the top.
Sell the dream, don't buy the dream is the investment lesson.
Anyway, let's rattle through what was a very, very busy week on the racing side on the track and off it. We'll do that at the end. Zeus Olympios looked all over a Group 1 horse when beating up Probello in the Joel Stakes. I think we'll be seeing him in Group 1 races next. Sounds like it might be next year. Lion's Pride was ridiculously impressive when winning on the same card. So I'm not sure that form's rock solid, but I imagine Group 1 prizes await him now. Zamphos made all on the stands rail to win the Rockfelt, and that was on the Friday. And Saturday we'll just run through them because I imagine they've been done to death in the last 2 or 3 days anyway, the stories here. Beracco won the Royal Lodge. A good Saturday for Aidan O'Brien. His true love won the Cheveley Park. He also won the Beresford Stakes and the Goffs Million over in Ireland on the same day. Wise Approach did remarkably well to win the Middle Park. Nearly came down at the start, traded about 16s in running, I think, and got up close home. That was a brilliant performance to actually win after those setbacks. Boiling Point won the Cambridgeshire, but Sparrow fought for Erzincan, who won his group on the near side by 4.5 lengths. So draw biases or otherwise were much discussed last week again. Rebels Romance won another Grade 1 in the States under Frankie, so that's good news for the HRMC probably. And I didn't really follow this, but I chucked in at the end. Cheap Sandwiches won the Irish Greyhound Derby. I hadn't seen it, but I think he was the odds-on favourite, wasn't he? So
it's a good result for the lads that preempted the non-runner.
Oh God, yeah, Jonathan Kay was actually telling me that because that was it. He said last week with the disqualified horse, the Greyhound getting out. He said there was a double whammy for bookmakers, so they got
Prime does pay,
right. Yeah. Well, we come on to
inverted commas crime, Harry. By the way.
Yeah, don't worry. As I say, I gave up on protecting your reputation alongside the show.
Yeah, and we touched upon this a couple of weeks ago, actually, that a big ban was coming. Kevin Scott got 25-day totting up ban. So yeah, that's at least it's probably come at a good part of the season for him. But I don't know whether he was due to go out for the Breeders' Cup or anything like that, or Longchamp. But yeah, probably isn't actually a very good time actually. So he got a 25-day ban. Safi Osborne's out for the foreseeable future after falling. And bad news for Coolmore, their main sire, Wootton Bassis, died of pneumonia. So that leaves them with quite a big hole in their stallion roster for next year and beyond. So that was the racing review. I don't think I've left anything out there, but if I have, tough.
Okay, lads, we'll get kicked on here with our topics. And our first topic would be a brief run through a decent raft of changes announced by Cheltenham Racecourse with regard to the festival, as they bid to combat falling attendances, which have been trending, I suppose, and general interest levels in recent seasons. So I won't go through all the changes, but just give you a flavour of maybe the headline ones. So the earliest sale price for the festival has been held since 2024. Additional discount windows have also been introduced, giving racegoers the opportunity to buy tickets at a reduced price for longer. It means that ticket prices are the same or lower than the 2025 festival for more than 10 months. So the capacity has also been reduced from 68,500 to 66,000. And I saw interesting headlines. I'm not sure you get it in any other sport, but the price of a pint and different draft beers and ciders has come down. So the price of Guinness is down to 7.50, I believe, from 7.80, and that applies to all 16 race days at Cheltenham. And there are also minor reductions to the prices of spirits and prosecco at Cheltenham for the first time. And then basically the rest of the changes are to do with the experience on course. So you can now move around freely with your drinks from enclosure to enclosure, which I believe you couldn't do before. Additional areas for food and beverages. PA system's been upgraded. Racecourse TV coverage has also been upgraded. And the Ladies' Day is back at the festival on Wednesday. So a few more changes besides that. AK, what do we reckon? Will this move the needle for the trend that Cheltenham Festival has been moving in, or more needs to be done?
I think just generally, to try and be fair, I think they're obviously trying. I think the biggest problem is the cost of the overall attendance, essentially just turning up and the full day of it, etc. Especially if you factor in hotel rooms. Hotel rooms seem to be the biggest.
I think that's the biggest problem.
It's the biggest,
and they can't control it, in fairness.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Like, I actually don't know. Probably should have done a bit more research myself. But the room to race partnership, like, why would a hotel not capitalize on the demand essentially by increasing its prices? It's a real tough one to solve. I think just the way things are going. I think there's a few of the points in there that are just like meh. It's like reducing the capacity of the festival. Well, the people are going to do that, not you. Like, it's that I don't think that's going to make much difference, reducing the capacity from 68.5. I thought it was actually quite easy to move to the toilet and stuff like that when I was there in March. It was fairly easy to move around because there weren't that many people there most of the days. So I can't see that having an effect. And then the pint one, which has grabbed all the headlines, is just a farce, isn't it? Really, it's just an absolute farce. It's really embarrassing. I think the buy 25 get one free has been.
It's because funny enough, I think the one that makes much more difference is being able to move around with a drink, because there's nothing more irritating than waiting 100%. Ages for your Guinness in a plastic glass and then trying to walk out and finding someone stopping you, and you're literally like, I've spent 45 minutes waiting for this bloody thing.
Yeah,
and I think that's
just common sense, isn't it? It's common sense, as is the common sense that 7.50, even just announcing it, is just all a bit weird. Someone put up, is the snooker on at Cheltenham at the moment or something? I saw, is the British something's on it. The prices of drinks are less at the snooker than what they're announcing here.
I think they're £6, at the snooker.
It's like, if I'd be announcing £5 or £6, like, you wouldn't be announcing knocking 30p off a pint. Like, it's not going to change. It's not going to stop people going to Benidorm for £1 pints, is it? Like, it's not going to. I don't know. I think the biggest problem, like you say, is the hotel in general. And I think, without doing it to death, and I'm going to do it to get death again, it's just racing's just not very competitive. It's a 3-day festival at max, spread out over 4 days with a lot of poor, uncompetitive racing.
Yeah, I suspect if Cheltenham had their time again with that press release, they'd have taken out the Guinness stuff, because if that's the headline to come out of the changes, and fair play to them for making an effort across the board here of what they can control. I think it just undermined all the other kind of like changes that they made. Richard Forrestal wrote another good piece on this, and he kind of like agreed with that line, because they can't change the hotel prices, and also the Guy Lavender, the Cheltenham head there, he did hint at program changes to come at 2027 and beyond, but we've been here before, and the trainers and owners just won't be having it.
It's just tinkering. It's just tinkering. It doesn't.
Yeah.
The sport just cannot grasp the bigger issue, I think, or
What-
might not
what they-
control
what
over it.
what they have got control of, they've done a good job, but it's
can't move the
like you
needle,
said,
can
it's
they?
tinkering around the edges.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see, won't we? If it makes a difference.
let's hope so, because we're sure we're invested in it. We've got fucking
Yeah.
we've a pitch there. We want it to succeed.
Yeah.
I just can't see it being enough. They're probably doing what they can.
It's not revolutionary. I think it's fair to say that, but nothing ever really is in horse racing. They do things very incrementally and slowly.
Yeah.
It's revolutionary, but thought you were reading out the press release there,
unless
Harry,
they're banning Irish, unless they're trying to ban Irish horses from Cheltenham, in which case they can act quite quickly.
That would make it more competitive. That's 5-1 on the field with all the scrubbers. Yeah.
We'll move on, gents. We'll go to topic 2. So the BHA have announced changes to a non-runner rule, in particular with regard to starting procedures. So from October 1st this year, the new rule will come into effect, or the changes to the new rule will come into effect. So just to read you and give you a flavour before we kick on. So the BHA can today confirm that a rule change will enable stewards to declare a horse a non-runner in jumps races or any other race that does not utilise starting stalls if they determine that a horse has been denied a fair start. The introduction of the new rule brings races started by tape or any other method into line with those beginning from starting stalls. So from Wednesday, 1st of October, stewards will be able to declare a horse a non-runner in a jumps race where they believe that the horse has been denied a fair start through reasons outside of its control and seen its chances materially affected as a result, as well as a horse being prevented from starting on equal terms due to a faulty action of a starting mechanism. Stewards will be able to declare a horse a non-runner if, for example, they ruled that the horse in question was in a position at the actioning of the start that denied them the opportunity to start on equal terms, such as facing the wrong way or being significantly detached from the field. Horses will not be declared a non-runner in instances where their own behaviour led to the horse not jumping away on terms, for example, planting themselves or spinning around at the start. So on the face of it, when you just take that alone, it seems like quite, I guess, from just a sporting thing, that makes a lot of sense. But obviously, there are a lot of potential frustrations that might arise out of this from a betting perspective, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the focus of this is on the betting, obviously, Punter getting a run for their money, etc. And to that end, it's well intentioned. And we should state that it's been in operation. This has been in operation on the flat since May the 1st, 2024. And they've had very little problems, if any. But
they've also got starting stalls.
Yes, exactly. It's chalk and cheese, isn't it? And jumps. We've all seen the raggedy starts at best, but the thing that jumped out at me when I really got stuck into this morning is because of the betting ramifications here, who was consulted. And apparently Sean Parker has been saying that bookmakers and the HBF were consulted. I'm led to believe that bookmakers, this came as news to bookmakers, and we should say that this was announced last week, and it actually starts on Thursday, October the 1st. So this is a very, very quick turn. I'm led to believe that no bookmakers were consulted, even though Simon Clare is on the jumps race committee, which I presume he signed this off as well. So, but the biggest bookmaker in the land, they didn't know about it. I spoke to one of the two big bookmaking outfits with multiple firms. They didn't know about it. Other big firms didn't know about it as well. So if the bookmakers were consulted, I'm at a loss there because
I can confirm they didn't consult small bookmakers either.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean that's right. And I spoke to the representative of the HBF this morning, the Horse Race Bettors Forum. I got a very lengthy response from them, but it was kind of like, I wouldn't say watered down, but they asked me to read this out instead. Again, this is, like I said, the first one was far more wordy, but the HBF were consulted and raised several concerns with the BHA team in respect of the rule change. Now, I'm led to believe that they were not supportive of the changes. They had a lot of reservations.
Yeah.
And I think their chair might have written to Sean Parker to outline those. So
how is he saying that they've had support of them then?
I think the word was they had
Been consulted and ignored. Sorry.
But it's like you said, but I just think it's full of holes. I mean, I wrote down 7 points and I stopped there. The most pertinent one is, when is a non-runner going to be announced? It has to be after the race is finished by its very nature. And then you have to communicate that very quickly to bookmakers, because bookmakers on course and off course settle pretty much immediately. So that has got to be relayed on course. And I don't know how.
But how could it happen very quickly? I mean, is it not going to require a steward's inquiry?
Yeah, you would have thought so. And also,
it's a disaster, this.
And also, obviously the stewards on the day presumably have got to consult the starter, and by definition, if they did deem a horse a non-runner, they were actually criticising the starter and what he's done there, because. But anyway, so that was one. I mean, the timing is crucial here. It's got nightmare written all over this. If there is a delay, I mean, imagine. To be fair, Sean Parker said they've looked back at this and it's only happened 3 or 4 times that this would have the non-runner will come into play, which begs the question, why are they doing it? They could do it on a case-by-case basis. But if you did that at a big major festival, you're talking about giving money back. You're talking about.
Or you don't. The other problem is when you don't do it. There's a short price favourite. Everyone decides that because it's been chinned, it didn't have a fair start. You're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't, because you're going to have the whole country going. Exactly.
It's so subjective, and it's like VAR. It's like, well, it's like frigging people on Twitter going, well, this happened in this game, he got fouled this way, and the exact same foul happened in this game, and they didn't.
Exactly. Exactly.
The biggest thing is the settlement, right? Online, on course would be an absolute disaster because you have to bloody face them as well. Online, you settle races. The whole thing is you want to settle races as soon as possible to generate more turnover. You get money back to people. You're trying to generate more turnover. The sport gets more money out of it. This seems like it's designed with punters in mind to give them a fair chance if the horse is denied a first start, but it's not. It's designed by somebody that doesn't understand gambling, is what I'd say. Which seems to be the same.
Which is where the consultation falls down. I mean,
can I just point out one thing just quickly, Tony, just before you carry on? One thing I've just thought of off the top of my head here is you think that you're saving people money by saying, I denied a fair run, get your money back. In the example of, just thinking off the top of my head here, an 8-runner race or a 16-runner race, the each way terms are going to change.
Yeah.
So you might be explaining to somebody who bets the third each way that, sorry, that lad's getting his money back because the fucking horse was slow away, but you're going to lose your money because you finished third and we're counting him as a knock. Like, it's just, you can't communicate all this stuff unbelievably quickly. You're relying on the stewards. It's impossible to communicate. You're delaying settlement. It's just, I can see in the cases where they deem horses non-runners, it just being an absolute mess.
But what about things like a horse is brought down by a horse that's ultimately a non-runner? Things like that. It starts to become conceptually completely crazy, and maybe even welfare issues come into that, as whether the horse should be racing throughout a race over jumps when actually it is going to be declared a non-runner at the end of it. But I'm afraid this comes back to welfare, is my suspicion. I think that this is to do with the way they're starting races. Remember at Cheltenham, we had all those false starts, about 6 or 7. And it turned out, as I understand it, that it was because partly because the starts were being held closer to bends in order to stop them going off too quickly. So my suspicion is what this is to do with is the balance. There is a balance between a fair start and a safe start. And I think we are moving towards a less fair starts in the way that they're starting these races. And so that the BHA trying to get ahead of the game will go, the criticism they're going to get, and say, well, don't worry, because if your horse doesn't get a fair start, we're just going to NR them after the race. That's what I think is going on here.
It's absolute carnage. Do you know, like in instances, you see it occasionally, just like not even to do with the start. You see, sorry, I'm just waving around, preempting this light. You see, whenever you see a favourite become a non-runner at the start of a race because it won't go in the stalls or something, that's carnage from a settlement point of view. Even at that time, when the market doesn't have time to reform, and the horse isn't even in the stall, if it's short in the market, it's carnage. You're waiting for a race to start here where people are like, literally don't know what yes or no. At least when you know it doesn't go in the stall, you know it's not run. It's still carnage in that instance when a horse is taking up a big percentage in the market, and then you're having to explain to people like it's changing each way. Like that is there's a huge rule for, like it's absolute carnage. Now you're moving that process into the race, waiting for the stewards who are fucking not the quickest, to like moving slower than me around Bethpage, I'd say most of them. Like it's I can't envisage anything but negative stuff here.
What about these starts where you've got 4 runners and one goes off 20 lengths ahead of the other one because the starter just allows it to go? Is that going to be an NR?
As long as I'm led to believe that as long as the stewards, the starter was happy with the actual start, as in they were positioned correctly when he said go, then that will be absolutely fine. It's when
it wouldn't count those races where someone has gone off.
For example, if he allowed a start in error, for example, if 3 of those horses were lining up and 4th entered that line at a gallop and he announced a start, that presumably that 4th horse would be kind of like, just disrespected. And also, I mean, you've got there is a scenario whereby placed horses could well be thrown out here, even though they might have run above market expectations because they got an unfair start or otherwise.
Wait a minute. So wait.
What happens to a horse
you
that
can
doesn't
get thrown
have
up if you don't want to be thrown out?
What happens? Yeah, I was going to say, what happens if a horse has an unfair start?
So you could throw out a winner, in which case.
Yeah.
I think they've ruled that scenario out. I think
okay.
ruled that scenario, but logically, it should apply to all the horses in the race, shouldn't it? I mean, a horse could have got left at 20 lengths at the start because it was facing the wrong way, and by those terms, that should be announced a non-runner. But you got, for the whole of the race, you don't know whether that horse is going to be declared a non-runner.
You're just putting a crosshair on starters.
There's loads of stuff.
Like they're going to have a complete nightmare.
Like match bets is one thing. There's bookmakers that bet in running.
Well, the in running market,
you're betting with runners or without. Like, what's going on?
I mean, if, for example, it's obviously in running, it will just, if you're not sure about if a horse is going to be deemed a non-runner,
you just don't bet.
You might have a massive rule 4, and it will kill in running betting stone dead in that instance, because you don't know what price you're going to get, and you're not going to what reduction factor you're going to get. And I just come back before we kind of like sign off on it. It comes back to me communication. How quickly can this be communicated to bookmakers? And that's after the stewards. They're going to be very conscious of the fact everyone's going to be looking at them starting October the 1st. They're not going to want to be making a mistake in the first instance. So there's going to be a massive time lag after the race is finished when they dissect what they can and can't do. And how is that going to be communicated to bookmakers, the online bookmakers and the on-course bookmakers? It's presumably going to have to go to the course, and then that's going to be actually over the tannoy. But how many people at the course listen to tannoy announcements?
Nobody.
I think this is creeping in across a lot of sports at the moment. Just the rules are just trying to. There are imperfections in every sport that you can't really do too much about in terms of a completely fair test. And I think, funny enough, I think the first one to go this way was rugby union, where basically the referee appears to be the most important player on the pitch, and very often the only person who understands the rules. I think VAR has become a complete farce in the Premier League. Watching some games this weekend, there's now no such thing as a goal that you can trust. That no one really celebrates goals, or they try. You can see everyone has been instructed to behave as though the goal has been scored, but equally everyone's just waiting for someone to start looking back through videos. And I think this is another example of it, of just creeping control over a sport to the point where I think people have always accepted that these things happen in racing, that you do get bad luck, and I think they do it on the basis that, well, maybe that luck
100%.
will go your way.
Yeah,
it might
that's
be the
the
horse
thing.
that beat you. It might be the horse that would have otherwise beat you that gets.
It's the same as anti-post racing. It's kind of like, yeah, you might have back a non-runner, you might lose your money, but you might also the horse you're up against at the front of the market might be a non-runner. You might be an unbelievably good. It's you take a chance in that.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of the thing. Like, it just worries you that whoever your man is at the BHA that's announcing all this stuff and has come up with this stuff just doesn't. It's literally betting, and it's bookmakers and punters that should be driving this. It shouldn't be anything else. And the fact that it doesn't seem like they've been consulted, even though, like, who's he spoke to? Like, it's just this has the potential to be carnage, and I'd say there's probably a good chance it'll be rolled back on when.
Well, hopefully, I think it should be delayed anyway, because I don't think it's been thought through properly. If the bookmakers haven't been consulted, like I said, one major bookmaking outfit definitely hasn't been. Sounds like the biggest bookmaker hasn't been, and other bookmakers that I spoke to this morning, they haven't been as well. So bookmakers haven't been consulted, and that is the first group of people that you would have consulted on this. And if the horse race bettors forum have been consulted and they've expressed grave reservations about it and they've cracked on anyway within a week, I just think this has got to be kind of like shelved while they work through the process.
The thing with Rule 4s and non-runners is that people don't understand is, you give your money back to the guy whose horse span around at the start. You take money off everyone else that's had a bet in the race, pretty much. Anyone that bets a 14 to 1 shot or under, you take money off them. Like, if there's a 14 to 1 non-runner or less, you're taking money off everyone who's had a bet in that race. Like, everyone. But why would you bet on this stuff? So you've got to give reasons for people to bet on the stuff, and this isn't it.
But like I said, it's like they're saying there's only 3 or 4 instances that they could
It's subjective. Like, they're applying, they're backfitting.
Yes.
Look at the mission creep of VAR, which was supposed to start off with only clear and obvious errors, and is now looking at basically everything. It doesn't work like that. It gets bigger. Pressure is put on it. People will go on and on about. It's just going to be another point of contention: is whether a horse should have been declared a non-runner or not.
Don't need it.
But I know we're going on about this, but I was going to ask you this, Harry, before I forget. Presumably, if, for example, a trainer or a jockey is not happy immediately after the race and goes into the stewards and said, "Look at my horse. I think it's been unfairly advantaged. I want that to be declared a non-runner." That's going to elongate the process, isn't it? Because do trainers and jockeys have a right of appeal immediately after a race? Go to the steward and say, "I want my horse declared a non-runner for this, and this reason." So there's going to be a delay if that's happening, because they have to listen to their participants, don't they?
You would have thought so. I mean, this is what I don't really understand about the way it works. You mentioned earlier that the starter has got to be unhappy with the start. Might be one way of doing it. You're like, "Oh, I shouldn't have let it off then." But then you're putting huge pressure on starters to say, "I got that wrong," which they're going to be very disinclined to do, given the way that people react to these things. Or you're going to have a separate steward's inquiry as to whether 1, 2, 3, 4 horses might want to be declared non-runners. You're going to have punters worried about their winnings in that period, and you're going to have punters worried about their lost stakes in that period. It just seems not very well thought out. But I do think the reason for it is that is in some ways well-intentioned. Well, no, it is well-intentioned.
Yes, it is.
But I think they think that there are. My view is they think there are going to be more episodes of this as they try to make starts safer and safer. That's what I think is going on here, and I think that they have. I think that they have reacted. They've spotted a problem, because what we saw at Cheltenham was a problem caused by welfare starts, and there is a line at a certain point where you are more concerned with welfare than fairness, then you're going to have more unfair starts. And I think this is their way of trying to deal with that, and I just think it's probably the wrong way.
Kill betting turnover and betting interest in the name of welfare seems to be the end of that road. As you stop racing,
well, you stop putting up jumps. Certainly, I mean, this is the point: is that you can over-egg this pudding on welfare. Is that at a certain point you are in jumps racing putting horses over jumps. You can't present that differently without just getting rid of the jumps.
There you go.
We'll just leave it there, lads. We spent quite a lot of time there, so I'm just going to kick on with the rest of the podcast. So BHA have appointed a consultancy firm to headhunt their new independent board and permanent CEO. Global management consultant Egon Zender has been appointed by the BHA to assist with the recruitment of a new independent board and permanent chief executive. The firm will start immediately as the BHA takes steps to reform the board, with Lord Charles Allen having insisted upon the removal of member-nominated directors before taking over as chair this month. The BHA has been without a permanent chief executive since Julie Harrington stepped down at the end of last year, with Brant Dunshee having held the role on an interim basis. Harry, do you want to take this first?
Yeah, it's hard to know what to say about this because the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. If they get good people, then it'll have been a good job. There are these executive companies that it's very common to use them to go off and find specialist, very high end, experienced people. It strongly suggests that Brant Dunshee is not going to remain in the role because I think very few people would hire a headhunter to find the guy who works in the room next door. But beyond that, it's difficult to know what to say about this. Let's see. It'll be very interesting to see who these appointments end up being.
Yeah, they've used from my recollection is they've used headhunters for this role all the way through the years I've been following horse racing, and that's gone really well. So let's see what happens.
But I mean, the other side of the coin is you'd be criticizing them if they said, "Oh, we know who. Let's go get a good racing man to do this."
Sure. Brant's 33-1 anyway, isn't he?
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
he may not want it. He may be longing to get out of the place. Who knows?
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Another BHA story. They've just we don't need to comment on this. I'll read this out quickly. So they've launched BHA have launched an environmental strategy to tackle climate change. So a new strategy aimed at reducing racing's environmental impact and making the sport sustainable future has been announced by the BHA, titled "Racing Resilience: Safeguarding Our Environment, Sustaining Our Sport." The strategy is described as a roadmap to 2030 for British racing to allow the sport to effectively adapt and progress in light of climate change. Through the strategy, which has been funded by the Racing Foundation, racing will focus on 4 key environmental areas: reducing carbon, preserving water, protecting nature and ecosystems, and minimising waste. Why are you laughing?
They should put TC in charge of it.
I was going to say, I was going to get at that.
The fucking sport's going to be extinct in about 10 years. Never mind the planet, for God's sake. Let's
get the going stick readings right. Fuck the water.
Jesus Christ! Move on. Let's move on to. Yeah, sorry, but fuck. Rubbish.
Okay, we'll move on to another very positive development for sport, with Labour MPs calling for a gambling tax hike that could be the death knell for betting shops. So I'll just read you out the background to this topic. Britain's betting shop estate could be wiped out if Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves takes heed of calls backed by more than 100 Labour MPs to hike gambling taxes. The government has been warned such a move would wipe tens of millions of pounds from racing's income and media rights payments and levy. The news follows a letter sent to Reeves by the Labour MPs headed by Becky Cooper and Alex Bollinger from the Gambling Reform All-Party Parliamentary Group, calling for increased taxation of gambling with the revenue ring-fence to help address child poverty and related harms. Although the letter calls for a targeted levy on online gambling, the APPG subsequently confirmed to the Racing Post that the MPs were writing in support of proposals made by former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Those would also affect the betting shop sector. So Brown's plans, based on a report this year from the Institute for Public Policy Research think tank, proposed increased remote gaming duty on online games for chance to 50% from 21%, and the machine games duty levied on in-person gaming machines such as those in betting shops to 50% from 20% to achieve parity with their online equivalents. Brown also called for general betting duty, which is levied on bets both online and in shops, to be increased to 25% from 15%. The MP's letter quotes on even higher figure of 30% from a previous IPVR report. So the question on this from Lindsay Gray, is it feasible for racing to win an argument that is framed increase gambling tax to reduce child poverty? I fear not. So is there any alternative way for racing to frame the scenario beyond axe to tax? Harry, do you want to take
It's a
this on
brilliant
first?
question. It's a brilliant question. It's exactly right. How do you win that? It has been, gambling has been completely outmaneuvered here by the antis, to use the term broadly, in that they have managed to turn this debate into either we keep the 2-child cap or we tax gambling more, and you can't win that argument. If gambling was going to do anything about this, it needed to start years ago. And build a totally different image of itself in the popular consciousness. I think there is a failure to understand from many people within the gambling industry that the waters around them have grown, and that we are no longer in the period where the Gambling Act was enacted, and society takes a very different view of gambling. Not one I agree with, but I think we just have to accept that it has what's happened. And I think this has been a colossal failure on the part of the gambling industry to allow itself to get into a position where no, there's nothing they can do now in the next whatever it is 6 weeks to try and wrest this back from a. Of course there isn't. How I was listening to Radio 4 the other day, and it was literally they were talking in terms of either child poverty or increased gambling taxes, and that is what the debate has become. But it's become that in a vacuum because no one is trying to do anything about it in public. Perhaps there are people trying to do things behind closed doors, but this is now a much bigger political question. We've got a Labour Party who are behind in the polls to reform, and are clearly, if you listen to Starmer today talking about the approach he's going to take on Nigel Farage's immigration policy, they are clearly going to move left in the face of reform, and they are going to try and basically give them a fight. And that is going to involve things like increasing gambling duties. So I fear this is a very, very worrying time for everyone on this side of the fence, really.
I thought it's linked in. I thought that on the Nick Lap Daily podcast on Friday, I thought Bet Goodwin's Julian Head spoke really, really well on the costs as they are at the moment of taking a horse racing bet. So yeah, I mean, if that's the case now, and the situation gets worse for horse racing and on the casino front, can you see a scenario where some bookmakers won't be viable anymore, Anthony?
Oh, 100%, yeah. I think horse racing sponsorship will go to almost nil. Like, I think it's it wouldn't surprise me. Any discretionary spend would have to be absolute. I think margins will go up. Like, my take on this. I think margins across the board will go up. I think you might see charges for card payments. I think you might see bookmakers imposing turnover taxes like they tried to do in the States. 0.5% of any bet placed. I think it was DraftKings, was it, that if you placed a bet, they added a surcharge of 0.5% onto your bet themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to see more and more of this stuff because the numbers do not add up. They do not add up. It's the black market's rise will continue. Problem gambling, I think rates will actually, from being fairly static for years and years and years, are going to start increasing. It's just people making decisions that don't understand it, and I think people will adapt, and we've plans to adapt. I think we'll just pull early prices on horse racing as one of our levers, just fully, unless it's a group race or something like that. Like, we'll just can it off. Doesn't make. You're just gonna have to look at all your different products and all your contracts, and the ones that don't make economic sense, kill them, essentially. And that's what will happen, and that's what will happen in the legal market. I think I know I don't want to go too deep into my numbers. I know Julian gave a broad overview of his. Like, he's missing out a few costs there as well, as far as I'm aware. There's more costs about servicing customers. There's all your soft checks, and there's other there's definitely other costs there that to be factored into that number. I think the numbers are skinnier than he portrayed. Yeah, it's just
he was admirably frank about
he was
the
very
position
frank.
of horse racing, and but just slightly at a tangent, he was basically saying that without casino betting, he is not going. If tax on casino betting goes up, he is not going to be able to continue taking bets on horse racing. I have no reason to disbelieve that, but quite how we got into that position, that's not the same sustainable position for horse racing.
Yeah, I don't think it's $1 million. I don't know whether a bigger bookmaker would do it, but I don't think it's $1 million somebody would turn off horse racing.
I don't say it isn't. My point was simply that how that's not a sustainable model for horse racing.
Yeah. Horse
regardless of what happens.
Whatever happens here, I think bookmakers are going to get hit big, and they'll make changes. Horse racing can't make bookmakers take bets on it. Like that's it.
No,
bookmakers have levers to pull where they can just go, we can't offer this. We're just pissing money away here.
But my point is, nor can it expect to last for the next 50 years on the profits made from casinos.
Yeah,
I think there's no chance horse racing exists in 50 years.
I listened to that. I listened to that, and I thought he spoke brilliantly, spoke clearly, spoke honestly, maybe overly honestly, and I just think someone should have done a follow-up on that, because it was quite startling, the terms that he spoke of.
Could easily, if you were at the Racing Post, you could easily get 5 or 6 bookmakers. You're probably not going to get one of the big guys. You can probably get people of our level, Goodwin, myself, some of the others. You could literally
What's the point? What's the point at this point? 5 people complaining in the Racing Post. This is the question for the government in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think the only way the government are going to roll back on whatever they're going to do is when they see what tax they generate and the effect it's going to have.
Yeah,
you can't. It's like me when my fucking missus says she buys a fucking rug or paints the house or fucking something, and she goes, "Imagine this color," and I'm like, I can't fucking imagine it. Like my brain doesn't work that way. I haven't a clue what it's going to look like. I can't tell the difference between these things. It's like your politicians and this. You can tell them what's going to happen until you're blue in the face. And if they can't see it, they can't see it. The only way they're going to see it is when they see the effect of it after they've done it. And I think that we're probably at that stage now. And
I think we are.
Looking forward to it.
I kind of agree. I sort of wish we could.
You want it to be. You want it to be.
Just do it. Yeah,
just do it. Go on, do it. See what happens.
Indeed. We'll kick on with the questions, lads, because we've got quite a few. John Joe Lang will start us off. So, given yesterday's Cambridgeshire went off with space for another 14 runners, and festive fields are getting smaller and less competitive by the year, is the Poneros rule the biggest load of shite to come from High Holborn? Tony,
listen to last week's podcast, John Joe. We dealt with it there. You're a week late.
The Poneros rule.
It is.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
The Poneros rule. I don't like having horses in Triumph hurdles that haven't run. Just makes all the previews of the race look silly, and doesn't really add anything for me anyway, for what it's worth, John Joe. George Fox, I enjoyed A Bloody Good Winner by Dave Nevison. That's the book Dave Nevison wrote after it was mentioned by AK. Any other book recommendations from the podcast crew? AK, I'll let you take this because I know you're well read on the betting books down the years.
Jeez, I can't remember the last time. I've just finished a book on the plane, but not reading as much as I used to love reading. I don't know if I mentioned it because I can't even remember even referring to A Bloody Good Winner, but that must have been a while ago when I mentioned that book. But just the overriding story from that, I probably said it at the time if I mentioned it on this podcast, but Nevison's at Chester, and I just always have this ingrained in my mind, right? And he says that he picks up a girl and takes her for dinner that night, and he says without making any comments on how classy the girl was, when she ordered a steak and the waiter asked how she wanted it cooked, she replied, "Fanny pink." And I just have that in my head as someone saying that to a waiter, and I just like, that's one of the lines he uses, and I'm pretty sure it's that book. But there you go. That's
I reckon Nevison said that and not the girl.
Yeah, bringing down the I just have that comment in my head constantly when I think of the book. Other books that I've read in there's a book called Horse Trader, which is really hard to get hold of, but that's really good. It's just about the rise of Coolmore and your man, the Pools guy, the Sangster fella. That's it, and Vincent O'Brien, and there's a few bits. That's it's a big book, but it's hard to get hold of. If you can get a copy of that, it's really good.
It's expensive.
The Beach book got a mention last week. I like that. I used to read that when I was starting off in the game and dreaming of making a few quid, and I find that quite aspirational. Don't know any you've got any of you guys books wise.
The Barney Curley one's very good.
Yeah.
Is it called The Coup?
Yeah, it might be.
Which is basically about the two big coups he pulled off. It's particularly interesting. I think the more recent one and how it was arranged, and just shows you how the game's changed so dramatically in a not very long period of time, where he was hiring these kind of executive flats in St. Paul's and filling them full of runners just to run to all these shops. It's a very good read, that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Simon Knott's a skimp mob.
Yeah.
Required reading.
There you go. There's only a few copies left.
And Gary Wiltshire.
Gary Wiltshire, yeah. You can get the Horse Trader book on audio book. I don't know if that counts, or people are disgusted by the listening to a book these days, but it seems to be the
read by Andrew Rhodes. Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. Brian is asking, did you read the Racing Post interview with the pro punter? So this is a Peter Thomas article on Murray Smith. What disguises have you all used to get on in betting shops? Tony, do you want to kick on here?
If you haven't read the article, go and have a look at it in the Racing Post last week. I just thought it was just an absolute cringe fest. I mean, Peter Thomas wrote it and he positioned it so badly, I thought. I mean, he made the guy sound a bit of an idiot, buying rugs and stuff like that. It might be a different rugs to the rugs that your missus is buying, Anthony. But yeah, no, I apparently I asked around, and I think Anthony's heard of him as well. I asked around, and a couple of people who play the shop, the shop runs as well, and I'll just call up the email I got back from them. Actually, they volunteered it before I actually discussed. Actually, it is, where is it? So yeah, I've headlined this: another punter that uses shops, don't use his name. I find the idea that I could walk into a second shop of the same chain to ask for an anti-post price on a race happening in 6 months, having just had the same horse PTL 20 minutes earlier, and the staff giving authorization being totally fooled by a dodgy syrup, hilarious. So yeah, that's a PTL. Is that permission to lay? Is it
permission to lay? Yeah.
I mean, the guy is very clever. Apparently, he's very independently rich, etc. Not that's got any bearing on it. But yeah, I just found it. I thought it's just a very cringy book review, really.
I think, the article was a bit odd, but my experience of seeing some of the bets that he did was he didn't know what he was doing. He used to build books around anti-post races, so he's not a spoofer. The disguise stuff was a bit bizarre. From memory, he always used to pay on his card, which means it's fucking pointless. You can dress up in whatever you like, but if you're paying on your card, is a bit of it's depending on how many cards you've got, I suppose. But he always used to pay with the same card, so it's not too hard. There's literally nobody going around asking for monkeys each way on 33-1 shots in the fucking Neptune novice hurdle. There's literally nobody doing it, so you wouldn't have had to have a disguise. You could have put a fucking beacon on your head. It wouldn't have made no difference, to be honest with you. But he did know what he was doing in fairness.
Yeah. Shane's asking, if a bookmaker suspends your account, gives no explanation, what can the customer do? Will they ever get their account reopened? AK.
I think it's highly unlikely. I've never got one of mine reopened. There's usually a reason. I think it's unlikely, but you can make your case. We usually tell
I've
people.
never heard of anyone reopening.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever asked you, Harry, to just say, get this account reopened for me or find out why they're
Not
doing.
not only that, I once got someone try to instruct me to get them back into a tennis club after they'd been kicked out for bad behaviour.
You said that last week, I think. Yeah, you said
The answer is yeah. No, if people don't want to do business with you, they're entitled to. There is this idea of fairness, which sometimes is used as well. It's not fair to warn me off, but you know the answer is that bookmakers don't have to take bets from anyone they don't want to, in the same way that you're not forced to place a bet. So I'm never hugely. I can certainly see if someone has done a lot of money, had a big win, and then had their account closed down. I can see you'd feel very aggrieved by that. But beyond that, I don't really understand. There are people who seem to think that they have a right to bet with certain bookmakers, and I've never quite understood the logic of that belief, to be honest.
Yeah, David Brown's asking a question in regard to the Irish Cesaro yesterday. So when Irish Cesaro which overruns hit 192%, are we still talking about risk management, or has pricing integrity been abandoned altogether? At what point does this stop being cautious and start being exploitive of punters? So I think, Tony, you might confirm here that I'm just reading your notes on the question. So this was as of Saturday night. The overnight prices on the Irish Cesaro, which were, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, we won't name the firms, but he said one firm were betting to 184%. This is what he claims. I've no reason to think he's being inaccurate. Like I said, but I won't name the firms involved. 184%, another 179%. One was 192% and another 187%. So yeah, I mean, and I think the overround on the day ended up being 150%. Just the early markets, they're priced so defensively. A lot of the time, as I always say in my company, a lot of the time you're just better off just waiting till very near the off. But one of those firms who were betting to 192%, I imagine they were the firms that making you pay through the nose for enhanced place terms. But yeah, if those percentages are accurate, and I believe they are,
that's what it is.
Pretty
like
unacceptable.
there's probably extra places involved there, and that's what you pay for. Essentially, you pay through the nose for that. I'm kind of in favour of overruns decreasing over time. You can start them at whatever you like. No one's compelled to place a bet. Place a bet somewhere else if you don't want to bet into that market. I'd be in favour of higher overruns early and lower overruns towards the off if the tax structure was in place to support that. I think that's preferable. For me personally, when I was betting, it was to try and win money in liquid markets. I would filter my odds checker just to remove bookmakers that just don't lay bets, essentially. Just so you weren't annoyed looking at the prices they were offering. Essentially, I'm only interested in markets and bookmakers and bets that I can get on. I don't want to frustrate myself looking at stuff that I can't. So it's move towards liquid markets, and we'd all be in a better place, I think.
Yeah. Second last question from the Mammoth Pack, which is kind of a retweet to Tony via a King's Bloodstock from that account. And so just asking, can anyone please explain how good to firm ground at Epsom racecourse can be given with a going stick reading of 6.0? Shows soft, heavy, 10 hours round trip, over £1,000 in costs, and jockeys reporting it soft after the first race, despite 2 calls to the clerk of the course to ensure this wasn't going to be the case. It's absolutely unacceptable. You have some more details on this, Tony.
Yeah, I contacted the clerk of the course, Epsom clerk of the course, Andrew Cooper, this morning. He kindly sent me a very detailed response. So as he gave me the courtesy of that, I'll give him the courtesy of reading it out in full very quickly. He said, having been good in the build-up, yesterday's race morning at 6:30, I put in good to firm in places and qualified that by saying it was generally good, but quicker up the middle of the home straight, which it was. Based on recent meetings there, I thought that was where the action would take place. The inside line was simply good. The early morning dew on a dull day never shifted, so by the race time the grass was still very moist, more so than I anticipated. They duly raced up the middle, latterly the fresh inside all day. Visually, they were getting their toe in up the home straight, but the times they were generally not too slow over the day, some just 3+ seconds slow. After race 1, I dropped the good to firm element. When we started getting a few drizzly showers, totaling 1 mil, which persisted for the rest of the afternoon, I went good to soft in places after race 3, still drizzling, and then simply good to soft after race 4. Well, fair play to him for this part. With hindsight, I would not have put in the good to firm in places first thing, but I know every blade there well, and it generally walked at least fast good in the build-up and morning. The weather conditions on the day, including the lingering dew, all played their part. At no stage on the day did any jockey suggest we were any slower than good to soft. This was backed up by the times. Visually, it may have looked slower, but they were just taking the top off in the main. Hope this helps. So, a comprehensive answer to that question from the clerk.
Very good. Last question, lads. It was a late one from Andy C. Who just added it this morning. Harry, I might bring you in this and just give you a bit of context to try and help along. So he's asking, can anything be
Sorry, go on.
Can anything be done to prevent abuse of the reserves mess in Ireland? Stablemate pulled out of the Cesarewitch on account of ground, even though had won on soft and on yielding, and then the reserve came in and it won at 7-1. So this is in relation to yesterday's Irish Cesaro, which was won by Joseph O'Brien. Train, put your hands together. Went off joint Fav earlier in the day. The same stables show that was pulled out due to unsuitable ground, and as Andy has pointed out, had won on soft ground at Galway, which is what the ground was officially described as yesterday. So kind of makes a bit of a mockery of the rules. Is there anything policy change you could implement there that could stop this going?
I thought you were going to do this, Ronan, you coward. You bottled it and passed it to Harry.
Well, I don't know what the rules are. The IHRB rules are on self-cert essentially. Is it the removal?
No,
is what we. I don't really understand the question. Sorry, Ronan. I didn't see this question.
Basically, he's inferring that the reserve system in Ireland, where horses can be inserted into the race on the day, can be manipulated if connections of certain horses have got a better chance if one was a non-runner and.
I see.
The question is basically if you've got 400 horses in training, should you be able to do what you like?
Yeah.
it should be noted, but the Joseph O'Brien horse that came out wasn't in the same ownership as the heavily punted winner. But it's I have to tread carefully there. But
I don't have a view on that. As I said, I don't fully understand.
Like I say, Ronan was meant to take that job on, and he just absolutely.
I mean,
what do you think, Rob?
He's absolutely shat the bed there, hasn't he?
Well, what's more to say? Only I agree completely with what Andy's saying there. I mean, it is a mess. At least come up with something a bit more creative. If you're going to say you're a non-runner, just say you're make it up for the old vet cert or something like that.
Just say it was a bad draw.
Yeah.
But the horse literally won on soft ground at Galway, won it, and you're pulling it out on unsuitable ground, and then. It looks a bit silly then when the well punted favourite, who just ran, interesting horse, just ran a few days ago in Listowel, comes and wins the richest flat handicap, I believe, in Europe. So there you go. That's all for this week's podcast, gents. So we'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone for their questions and for listening, and thanks to all the lads for their contributions. As usual, we say, if you're having a bet this week, do check out the AK Bets Big Prices tab for all the big events. We will be hugely competitive on the biggest sporting events happening this week. So check that out if you're having a bet. Thanks to the lads. Thanks you for listening again. And we'll talk to you this time next week. Cheers.